Oh, what's up, party people? It's Tuesday tips time. I'm Carey. I'm here. I'm excited to be with you. And I have a mug today, and it's from my husband, and it says, "She believed she could, so she did. She believed she could, so she did." Let's see if I can get it out of the light for you. And I just want to say, hey, 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 and welcome. And for those of you who are tuning in, just go ahead and type into the chat your name and where you're tuning in from. I'm super excited for you to be here today. As I was thinking about what to share, I knew there were so many things that were up that were relevant. And hey, Teresa. Hey, Candace. Hi, Hannah. Hi, George. What's up? Thank you for joining. So if you're just hopping on for Tuesday tips, I'm super excited that you're here, and go ahead and say hey in the chat and let me know where you're tuning in from. And the reason I chose this mug today, "She believed she could, so she did," is because I don't know, I was struck today about, I don't know, I think it's because my birthday's coming up, that 10 years ago, I had none of what is happening today. I had no business, I had no coaching skill, I had no family. Like, I had a family, but I wasn't married, I didn't have a kid, I didn't have any money, I was broke, I was suffering from a terrible eating disorder. Like, what a massive transformation that in 10 years I was able to build 3 businesses, let's say 4, one 6-figure, 2 multi-7-figure businesses. Like, wow, how did that happen? And to overcome an eating disorder and overcome so many things that were holding me back, to get out of debt. I used to be $70,000 in debt. That was 18 of that was credit card, and the rest was a loan from my family to sort of like get myself going. But it wasn't like a family loan, like, oh, you don't have to pay that back. It was a loan. Like, I considered it debt. I had to pay it back. So there was so much transformation in such a short period of time that I often get asked, how did it happen? Like, what were the things that made the difference for you? So I wanted to come on today and have a Q&A day and just be able to have you ask any question that you like of me about business. I like how you go from, I was an actress, for the love of Pete. Like, I didn't have a business degree. I had none of that. So how was I then the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business? I mean, go figure. I don't know. If you have questions about coaching, or how a body image shifts. I used to hate how I looked. I thought I was hideous and fat and all of that, and that shifted tremendously. And so anything that I can help with. Oh, Hannah, thanks. She says, I love your necklace. Thanks. Hey, Sugar from Oceanside, what's up? Hi, Terry and NC. Hi from Maine, Kimberly. Welcome everyone. Hey. So to go ahead and just take a second to think, like, you can ask me a question and I'm going to answer it here. I will not answer super personal questions. Sometimes when Stacy and I, when we're at our live training called HCI Live, it's a 3-day training. We are live. Stacy and I lead it. And one of the evenings we have something called the Fireside Chat. And in the Fireside Chat, people write questions anonymously on an index card, and we answer the questions. And they're all kinds of questions. Sometimes they're super personal, and sometimes they're about business. Sometimes it's like, tell me about your morning routine, or, are you ever scared or nervous? And if you are, how do you get over that in your business? Questions like that. And it's super fun, and it gets a little crazy and raunchy. And and so if you have never come to HCI Live, if you want to see, this is like a mini fireside chat right here, a little Q&A day. It gets a little crazier when we're live and in person and no one's recording. This is on the internet forever, but live, we say what happens at HCI Live stays at HCI Live. So if you want to have that experience at HCI Live, you can learn about it. If you go to hcilive.com, you'll see videos about what's happening at the event, what we're covering, all of that. It's a party and transformation all together. So check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. So Teresa has a great question. She said, I love your videos on abundance, financial freedom. How did you transform from scarcity to abundance? Well, tell you what, chokes me up to think about that, to be honest. So for many years, I was an actress. I was making maybe $25,000 a year at big cities. I lived in Chicago, and then I lived in New York. When I lived in New York, I actually had a day job, and I made $40,000. I thought I was rich. I was like, wow. And then, but that wasn't acting income. Mostly though, when I was acting, I probably made $25,000 a year, maybe 30. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, I did a few commercials, and then a huge year was $50,000. That was a huge year. And so I think most of the time, like I was in debt because I just didn't understand how to manage making that amount of money. I tried a budget, like I just couldn't make it happen. And I remember in my early 30s, I had moved to Los Angeles from Chicago. I was living with a guy. It was a terrible relationship, but it was good for a number of reasons. I could tell you about that another time. But I remember I lived in his house that he owned, and I remember I had an office in a bedroom, and there was a wood floor, and I remember it being cold. And I remember having my computer sort of on the desk, and I was sitting on the wood floor. I don't know how I got there. I don't know why. But I just remember one day I was like, I saw like the payments that I had to make to my debt. I saw the money that I had in my bank account, which was very little. I had no assets. I never owned a home. I didn't have investments. There was no retirement account. Like I had nothing. And I remember I was 32, 33, 33-ish, I think, 10 years ago. And I just started bawling my eyes out on that floor. And I was like, I just don't believe, like, this is not supposed to be my life. I am not supposed to be having this experience. And just something inside, like, whoosh, and I decided, never again. I will never have this experience again. I'm never going to be crying on the floor of the house of some guy where I couldn't buy the house. I just never going to do it. Like, this isn't going to be it. And I made that decision. And that was really the first step, where I felt like I'm not going to be the one who needs help all the time. I'm going to be the person who can make the things happen for me that I want to have happen for me. And I decided on that day that I was going to make friends with money. I was going to learn about money. I was going to learn. Ironically, at this time, I actually had tons of people asking me to coach them. Tons. I had a list of maybe 1,500 people on an email list. And at this time, this was like 10 years ago, so 2008. This is before social really got going. And so email lists were the primary sort of form of communication with people who might want to be clients. And I had people emailing me from my list all the time. Will you help me put my business online? Will you coach me? Will you this? And I was saying, no, 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 I don't do that. Up until that moment where I cried on the floor, and I was like, no, that's it. I've got to stop. Whatever it is I'm doing is not working, and I need to do something different. And that was really the moment that changed everything, Teresa. I hope that's useful for you. Okay, let's see. Lorena's saying, how can we work with pregnant women? Well, Lorena, I would say very carefully. That's how you can work with them. Having been pregnant. I mean, there's lots of ways to answer that question. I'm curious, Lorena, what specifically do you mean? Do you mean like how do you market to them, or do you mean what actually do you do with them as a health coach? Like how do you help them through their pregnancy? Which one are you asking? So go ahead and type in and let me know. So Bethany is saying, I'm still having trouble having a breakthrough with mindset. I don't feel like I've had the breakthrough I need to take action. I'm the birthright to exist. Birthright to exist. She's talking about something from our mastery training, I believe, Bethany. I think that's correct. So who and what helped you? Well, around the time that I was crying on the floor and all these people were asking me to coach them and I wouldn't do it, what I had to do was become a client of the transformational coaching method and the habit change coaching that we teach. I had to be a client of that. And there was a level of dedication to that where I was on the phone with my coach, I think it was every week at that time, because I had quite a lot of stuff to wade through. And that was the thing that propelled me forward. I think the more you have yourself in the position of client of that deeper work around belief and identity change, the faster the breakthrough is going to come in order to take action. And so that might mean for you continuing on in mastery. Maybe you renew and you continue to have skills labs and have students coach you at those higher levels of change. That might mean hiring a mastery grad to be your coach, and deciding that this is going to be a key piece of my growth as a business owner. One thing I found in my experience is that growing your business is a two-track thing. And one track is the practical nuts and bolts. It's what's my program, what does it cost, how am I inviting people, how am I marketing to people, all of those external things that you're having to learn and sort of tweak as you go along. But then there's the internal track of the mindset shift and change that has to happen on the the deep levels of belief and identity. Behavior change is great too, don't get me wrong. Behavior change is very powerful. And the truth is that the reason why the way we teach behavior change works is because we dip into the levels of belief and identity to fuel the behavior change. That's what makes, so if you're a student and become a health coach, by the way, shout out if you're a student and become a health coach. When you learn the 90-day program, the reason that works for clients is because in key sessions in that program, you're dipping into a higher level of belief and identity change. That's what fuels the behavior change and makes it last over time. So when you're trying to get to the bigger breakthroughs in your own life, you want to really commit, whether it's in the context of the mastery program or in the context of a coach that you're working with. But I remember asking myself back when I was crying on the floor, how might it change my life if I had this kind of deep coaching every week for a year? Like, what if I committed to this for 12 months? And it did completely change my life. And that's what helped me really with those breakthroughs. Now, that being said, Bethany, once I had those initial breakthroughs, I remember in my business, I went from making $40,000 or $50,000 at most from my coaching business. And that year after that decision and the mindset shift, I went to $130,000. It was the first time I made more than 6 figures in my life. It was like shockingly amazing. It changed my life forever. And then as my income continued to grow, as my business continued to grow, there were more and more mindset shifts I had to make. I had to keep growing through all of the changes. And that's why I say that business growth is 2 tracks, because you're going to continually be growing your business, but you have to continually grow yourself at the same time, because if you're not growing yourself, then your business stalls. Or you'll grow your business so much, you'll get to a point where maybe you have the kind of success you've wanted, but you might feel empty inside, and that would suck. That would be a super bummer. So you always want to keep those 2 tracks going. And that's why in our Become a Health Coach training, we have both those tracks. There's lots of internal shifting happening. There's external shifting happening. In our mastery training, we always have both tracks. We rarely offer courses or trainings from Stacy and me that don't include the internal and external transformation. Okay. These are awesome questions. I'm hoping this is useful for you. And again, if you're just joining, go ahead and type into the chat, say hey, where you're tuning in from. Thanks for being here at Tuesday Tips. Our mug today is she believed she could, so she did. And I'm answering questions about sort of all the transformation that I've experienced in business and life and how that may or may not be useful for you in your situation. Ooh, Hannah Duncan with an awesome question. Please list your favorite body-forming clothing lines. I'm getting so curvy and have trouble finding clothes that I feel happy in. You were able to find so many cute maternity clothes. Who do you love? Give me them deets. Well, first of all, do you need maternity clothes? Are you telling me something here that I didn't know? So one of the things that I really love is clothes. And the reason why is because for most of my life, I hated my body, even though I look back in pictures now and I was beautiful, but I saw myself as hideous. And I had an hourglass figure, which my mother also had, super like right out of the textbook hourglass. And I remember my mom and my dad telling me when I was young and I would cry about how I couldn't fit into Guess jeans. Guess jeans were like the bomb. Give me a hand clap if you were raised in the era of Guess jeans. Well, back in the 80s when Guess jeans came out, there was no such thing as putting stretch in jeans. That didn't happen. That wasn't a thing then. It was just like two little skinny legs of jeans for skinny little hips. And I didn't have that. I was really curvy even from a young age. And so I always assumed that I was fat. And if I could just diet myself down and exercise myself down, then one day I would fit into the skinny Guess jeans that my skinny little white friends could wear. I love my little friends, but I also was half Lebanese and Syrian. I got my body from my mother, but my dad is Lebanese and Syrian, so I was darker. I knew I wasn't white. I felt like I was white-ish. And so I felt a lot of like just not fitting in, literally not fitting in. I couldn't fit into the jeans. I wasn't fitting into my environment, which was, I grew up in a suburb of Detroit. It was white, 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 white. And then it was more white. But the main sort of ethnic group were Middle Eastern people. I don't know if anyone who grew up in Detroit, Dearborn, that area, hand claps. So it wasn't like I knew there were other people like me, and obviously my dad's family was there, but I just didn't fit in with the white girls. I couldn't wear the jeans. And I just decided not only was my body wrong, but I was hideous and ugly. And that lasted for a lot of years until in my early 30s when I encountered coaching. I went to a photo shoot session with Stacy, and I met a stylist. Her name is Sybil Henry, S-Y-B-I-L, Henry, and you can look her up on Facebook. She's an amazing stylist, and she taught me, no, she said, your issue isn't that you need to lose weight. Your issue is that you're an hourglass figure and you have no idea how to dress for that. And that she told me that every kind of shape, whether you're an hourglass or a pear or an apple or, let's see, what else are there? A rectangle, I think, or an athletic shape, that every single body shape has a particular zone of beauty, she calls it. And that's the zone that you want to highlight, and that you dress for your shape and you don't dress for your size, because your size can go up, your size can go down, but your shape is probably going to stay the same. Now, pregnancy was a whole nother issue. We could talk about that another time. My shape changed a bit, but now it's back to what it normally was, which is an hourglass. So what she told me was that for an hourglass, the zone of beauty is your waist and your shoulders. So you want to look for clothes that are fitting to your body, and actually the more fitted, the better. If you wear baggy clothes, you're going to look bulkier, which I was like shocked by because I was always wearing baggy clothes. I was trying to hide my curves. And I remember she said to me, no, you want to highlight your curves. She said that like curve of your waist to hip, that's a man catcher. She said that's beauty. It's beauty. And the more you embrace that and own that, the more you are giving people who follow you the permission to do the same. And I remember she put me in a dress that I wore to an HCI Live event, which I know some of you are coming to the next HCI Live November 9th through 11th. You can learn about that at hcilive.com. I remember she put me in this dress. This is back in maybe 2012, and it had like a cutout on the side that was mesh. It was this crazy gown that I was like, I can't wear that. Like, don't make me wear that. I'm so self-conscious. I mean, I literally feel like I just took a train to Curvy Town, and I'm asking people to get on it, and it's uncomfortable. And she looked at me and she said, you're a leader, and you need to wear the things that people would want to wear but might not have the courage, and you have to do it. You have to have the courage to embrace yourself completely, and not only do that, but then like own it in your clothes and everything, and how you stand on a stage or appear in a video, whatever. And it totally changed my view of myself. And she gave me a couple of clothing lines, Hannah, back to your question, that are really good for curvy women. At least what I've found are great for curvy women. First of all, for maternity, I bought almost everything from Isabella Oliver, which is I believe a British company, but they shipped to the United States, and their clothes were beautiful. And they're made for like the beginning of pregnancy all the way through the end, when you're like, I can't possibly get any bigger, but you do. And then all the way until after pregnancy. And there's some dresses that I'm still wearing because they're so amazing, and the curvy shape of them are incredible. So that's Isabella Oliver. Other designers that I like a lot, let's see. Ralph Lauren has always been great. My only problem with them is they cut their dresses too high, but they're great for curvy. It's too high above the knee. Nicole Miller is awesome. I have a good Rachel Roy that I like. Let's see, what's in my closet? DKNY has been great. Oh, I feel like I need to write a list. I'm blanking. Hannah, I'm gonna write more. Well, if you all are enjoying that and want a more of a list of curvy clothes, I'm happy to share them. I can maybe write one and post one. Okay. Hey, Debbie from Boston. What's up? Hi, Katie. Okay, so I'll maybe do like one or two more questions. Lauren is asking, how do you build your business so that it's scalable and you don't hit roadblocks as you're trying to grow? Well, that's an excellent question, Lauren. Thank you for being here. Thank you for asking. And my answer is that there is no way to build a business without hitting roadblocks. You will hit roadblocks. That a business is essentially a series of problems that you have to solve. You will hit roadblocks all the time, over and over, and that's normal. Now, if you're trying to create a coaching practice where, let's say you make, I don't know, $75,000 to $100,000 a year, and you want to stay at that level, you feel like this is amazing, I don't want anything more, I want this right here, then what you're going to be in is a situation where you're going to hit roadblocks getting up to that income level, but once you're there, you're going to have a lot of systems in place that is going to make it really simple. That's true. I mean, Stacy and I have several times as we, built Holistic MBA originally and then into Health Coach Institute. I remember many times we look at each other and go, we should just have a coaching business. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this insane business building thing? And then it would be getting to six figures the first time is really challenging. You hit a lot of the external roadblocks and the internal roadblocks. But again, once you're there, then it's just maintaining and making sure that you have, new prospective clients coming into your systems. If you want to scale to 200,000, 300, 400, 500, a million, 2 million, 3, 4, 5 million, you have to be prepared to spend every day hitting roadblocks, pretty much. That even if you have the most wonderful systems in place, things break, things change, and that the problems that you have at $250,000 of revenue are different than the problems that you have at $1 million of revenue, are different than the problems that you had at 100,000. So things are always changing. That said, and that's part of the reason why you need the constant mindset shift, because you have to be able to have the emotional resilience to deal with that kind of problem solving and that kind of obstacle navigating. And as far as making a business scalable, I guess it would depend on scalable to what, like what level of income. If you're talking about a one-on-one coaching business, that's actually the way that you scale a one-on-one coaching business is by raising your fees. That's the only way to do it. If you want to continue with one-on-one clients, you have to make sure that you are moving to a place where you're going to platinum level programs and that your fees are going up into the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25K kinds of fees. Some coaches are up to 50, depending on the service that you provide, but that's how you scale a one-on-one. If you wanted to scale and go from one-on-one to working with groups, then you can do that like live, or if you want to do that online virtually, then you have to make a commitment to your online platforms, your social media, your email marketing list. You have to learn how to create like what would technically in marketing language be called a funnel, moving people from, hey, great to meet you on a Facebook ad, into having them purchase and enroll in your group program. So the way that you scale that is by having something called a scalable, I call it a scalable revenue engine, where you create a container of a group program, and you could have 5 people in it, you could have 500 people in it, it could hold everybody, and you just keep moving people into that program. Of course, the more people you have in a group, the more ancillary support you need, like customer service or coaches to be in Facebook groups, things to help you support delivery of that. But I'm hoping that, Lauren, this is useful. If you're still on, if you type in and let me know if this is useful for you. So gosh, we've been going for a little while, but I tell you what, this is super fun, and I will take, let's do 1 or 2 more questions. Not pregnant, good to know, okay. Anita said, you look amazing, glowing, oh thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, I got a fancy little camera for the top of my computer. It's a Logitech, Logitech. I just got it on Amazon. I think it's a 920 or something like that, and you just pop it up there and it makes everything look lovely. Why ask why? Just be grateful. So Lorena is asking how many sessions per month you have for each client and how much time every session. Well, great question, Lorena. So in the Become a Health Coach training, we train our coaches to deliver a 90-day program, and that you deliver 1 session a week over 90 days. And the reason why we do that is that Stacy found in her health coaching practice, which by the way, Stacy is just a crazy badass health coach. And she found that 90 days was a great time period because it was enough time to get results for clients, but clients didn't feel like it was like too big a commitment for them. The way Stacy and I were initially trained was to offer a 6-month program with a session every other week. And what I found and what she found is that that's a long time commitment, especially in health, where you want to get a result. Like your clients are like, I need a change. 6 months, so I have to wait 6 months. And the other thing I found is that having a session every other week, in my experience, it just took the air out of the momentum. Like I feel like when someone's first starting with coaching, you need momentum and you need to keep someone accountable. They need to know they're coming in every week. This is a thing. We are immersing ourselves for 90 days. And if it's 2 weeks between sessions, it's kind of like, wah, wah. So that's how we do it. 1 session per week for 12 weeks. And my sessions were usually anywhere between 45 minutes to 60 minutes. In business coaching, I've also done 30-minute sessions where I remember thinking, 30 minutes, what am I going to be able to do? You can actually do a lot in 30 minutes. You can do a lot in 15 minutes, really, when you're a good coach. But me personally, when I do sessions with private clients, I like at least 45 minutes. And then if I'm going to do like a deeper, like change work, our mastery level kind of work, I sometimes want an hour to an hour and a half. So I hope that's useful for you. Sam says, I was too tall for Guess jeans. It was torture. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, great. Let's take just a couple more. Oh, Natalie said I couldn't fit in Jordache. Yes, right? Jordache was, I don't even think I tried them on. I think I tried on Guess and I was so devastated by the fact that they didn't fit that at Jordache, I was like, I just can't even go there. Okay. Great. Oh, you guys are such awesome comments. Let's go ahead and get to a question. Oh, Hannah suggested me making a list of curvy brand clothing and posting it on Instagram. Nice. You can follow me there at Carey Coaches. Valerie's asking a great question. How do you grow a business and still have a life? I desire to be with friends and family, but I hear so many successful people saying you have to go into a cave for a few years. Well, this is a great question. I was actually just reading a book called Crushing It by Carey Peters, who is just an awesome, awesome teacher, awesome guy. And he is the kind of guy that's like, you're going to work 18 hours a day, and it's going to be every day, and you're going to work harder than everybody. And he's got kids, but he's got a wife at home who's taking care of them, so he has the flexibility to work 18 hours a day. That's not been my experience. When I first started building my business, I had a boyfriend and friends and a life, but I did not have kids. I wasn't married. I didn't have those responsibilities. I didn't even have a pet. I didn't even have a plant. I wanted to take care of nothing until my daughter was born, and then I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to take care of something. So I really had very few responsibilities when I first started my business. That said, I remember thinking when I was, at times in my acting career, things were slow, and I'd get a temp job, and I'd be sitting at a desk in an architecture firm as an admin for a couple of weeks. And I remember sitting there like bored out of my mind doing some kind of bizarre filing or whatever, some stupid thing that didn't matter. And I remember thinking, I'm here for 40 hours. If I had 40 hours to myself that I dedicated to a business, I could do a lot. I could do a lot for something that matters to me instead of sitting here in this stupid office. And that's actually one of the things that led me to health coaching, because I was like, well, if I'm going to spend a certain amount of time working outside of acting, I have to do something that's meaningful. So what I felt was like, if I took 40 hours and I really worked for me instead of for someone else, I bet I could do a lot. And that was true. Now, were there times where I worked 50 hours or 60 hours? Yeah, for sure. But I'm also someone who has, I'm strong in some ways, but I need a lot of rest and recovery time. I can't go 100 miles an hour all the time, because I just end up sort of falling down and crying. Like, I'm so tired, I can't. So I'm just not someone who can work 18 hours a week. I'm used to, as an actress, you learn a really good work ethic because you're rehearsing for 6 hours a day and doing a show at night, and that's happening 6 days a week. So it's not that I'm averse to working hard. I think working hard is necessary. But I also believe that you can't do it at the expense of your health and well-being. And I think that a lot of people that I will see who are out in the world might be doing that, where they're working so hard, they're burning the candle at both ends. Ariana Huffington is a great example of that, where she basically passed out at her office on her desk because she was so exhausted, and then became a convert about sleep and taking care of yourself. And that ultimately, building a business is a marathon at a sprint pace. That's what it is. Until you get to where you want to be, and then you're in a maintenance mode. Like we talked about earlier, if you're looking for a 6-figure coaching practice, then you're maintaining that, and it's not so much a sprint. It's like a marathon worth of sprint. It's just little sprints here and there. But if you're going to build a big, big business, it takes a lot. But I still went out with friends. I still had a life. Shoot, I was building my business. I was still a professional actress. So I was shooting web series or independent film. I was going out on 9 or 10 auditions a week. I was going to acting class. I was going to casting director workshops. Like, I had 2 full-time jobs, basically. I was building 2 businesses, my acting career and coaching. So, and on top of that, I had time with my friends. I'd go to visit my family. So I don't believe that you can't have any life when you're building a business. I think if you're strategic about what it is that you're doing, you don't have to do that. And one of the things, I remember my brother, he's got an amazing, amazing dance meditation technique that he teaches and has classes on in Detroit. If you're in Detroit, look for dance meditation technique. It's amazing. I wish I lived there just so I could go to the classes. But he asked me, like, how do you build a business? And I said, I don't know how to build a fitness kind of business, but what I can tell you is that you need to find somebody who's done what you want to do, and you need to ask them for everything that they know, if they'll mentor you. Because once you learn from someone who's done it, then your progress is faster. You don't have to work 20 hours a day and kill yourself to have a business. I think that's one of the benefits for those of you who are in Become a Health Coach, or you're considering becoming a health coach, that Stacy and I did it. So we're not teaching you academic theory, we're teaching you what works in the real world, and that makes your progress faster. Valerie, I hope that's useful for you. Okay, let's take one more. Oh goodness, oh my goodness. Oh, so many good questions. Yeah, I'll just finish with this. Teresa's saying, I love the story about how you invested your time toward your business and took the time for self-care, especially as an introvert or a highly sensitive person, which I am both. I think the greatest gift of building a business or having relationships, it's the personal growth that it provides. And at the end of the day, who you get to become is someone who accepts who you are, like radically accepts who you are, and then designs the life that works for you. And that means the business, that means relationships, that means your home environment, that means everything. How you take care of yourself, the clothing that you wear, that ultimately it all has to work for you. And that the older you get, the more you're like, I just can't deal with things that don't work for me anymore. Some of you may get there earlier and younger. Others may be older. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for is an experience of life that feels right for us. And we can't always have it perfectly the way we want it all the time. I don't know that that's realistic. But on a default level, can we have things be what's right for us as much as possible? That's the greatest gift of the journey of coaching, of building a business, of falling in love with yourself and accepting who you are. And to know that, it's just not always going to be perfect. I have just as many challenges. There's a lot of things that I've figured out, and there are a lot of things that I really haven't figured out at all. And that's okay. We're just always growing and changing, and that our business, our relationships, our self-care always provides the opportunity for that next level development into the best version of ourselves that we can be. So thank you so much for the Q&A format today. Stephanie is saying, I love that format, and go ahead and just type in, let me know, is this a format that you like? And if it is, I will repeat it, and you can bring your questions forward. And what I hope you can expect from me is that whether it's in a Tuesday tip that I've prepared for you, or it's in a Q&A, that you can expect me to be candid and honest about what's really up. You can expect me to be on the reels, that I'm not trying to sort of present a perfect picture to you, that, life is about challenges and growth and change. And if there's something that I've experienced that's useful to you, I'm so happy to be able to share it. So yeah, it's looking like I'm getting some hearts that the Q&A format is useful. And in that case, I will definitely repeat it. This has been a ball, and I just want to take a second to tell you how much I appreciate you for taking the time to show up here on Tuesday Tips. It's really a joy to be with you, and that to remind you that, you believed that you could, and so you've done, that there's so much that you have done, that if we were to switch places and you were to sit here and talk about the things that you've learned, you have a ton of wisdom to share and a lot of life experience behind you, and that you could absolutely do this very same thing with the people in your world, on your Facebook page or in your Instagram feed or wherever, that you can give tips and Q&A and all of that, and that people can come to see you as the resource that you are. And I'm just here to encourage you, like, you can do it. You really can. And I know part of you probably believes, no, I can't. But you don't know me. If you knew me, you'd know I really can't. I have to tell you, I don't know. I might not know some of you personally, but what I do know is that we all underestimate ourselves. And we believe that we're capable of so much less than we actually are. And one of the benefits of being in a community like Health Coach Institute is to be challenged into our greatness. And to be drawn forward. And that's, another reason not only why you'd be here in Tuesday Tips or Real Talk with Stacy on Thursday, but also why you might come to HCI Live, because when you're standing in a room of people who can see your genius and they won't let you get away with going, oh, no, not me. They won't let you get away with that. It's like you're almost forced, like I can't not come forward. I can't not be the version of me that's trying to express. And so you can learn more about HCI Live at hcilive.com. We'd love to see you there. And Stacy and I are surprisingly accessible at those events. I may be coming up to you, like tap you on the shoulder and be like, can I have a hug? So thank you so much for being here on Tuesday Tips. I look forward to seeing some of you live in November 9th through the 11th in Austin. And then, of course, I'll be back next week for more fun. And I think we're going to go tips, but I love your questions in the chat. So be sure to tune in next Tuesday, same time, same channel. Love you guys. Ciao.